This video is all about PC board holders, and I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I have and how I use them. So starting with this multi-vise, it's multi-angle vise. It can be adjusted to any angle, and it's pretty handy for holding connectors while you're soldering them and things like that. And I have actually 3 of these things, so I use them all the time. Sometimes I use them for holding PC boards, but mostly for holding wires and whatnot. So I also have another kind of vise here, which is very quick to grab something, and it's the only problem with this is it has to sit on the edge of a table, so that it's limited in where you can put the board because it's right on the edge of your bench. But I still use that one once in a while, not very often. Now let's talk about some other board holders. This is a Panavise holder for circuit boards. It's this post slides into the Panavise base. And I have one over here which has a different vise on top. This one has rubber jaws and an adjustable tensioning lever on it. They're very easy to slide these arms open and closed with these, just by pinching the little bracket here. And it's also adjustable both vertically and you can rotate it as well. So it's quite flexible. This is actually a fairly new addition to my arsenal, so I haven't used it much yet. I found it, my first attempt to use it, it's quite tricky to actually stick a card in here and have it properly held by these rubber jaws. I just found it hard to hold there while you're trying to tighten everything up. You need 3 or 4 hands just to get that card in there properly. The vise, the jaws don't actually fit a 1.6 millimeter card, so it's they're expecting thinner cards, and you can use it without the rubber and just put the cards in these metal slots, which is what I do with my main soldering system, and I'll show that at the end. Here's just one of these little phone PC board holders for holding the circuit boards in phones. I've mounted it on a hockey puck with a GoPro mount here, so it can actually have all kinds of GoPro extensions, and you could figure out any angle you like using GoPro. But these are pretty handy. I'm thinking of adding insulating board grippers so that there's no chance of shorting things out, and we could use it for testing cards while it's on the holder. I don't use this much. I have 3 of these things and I don't use them much, but I do use them occasionally for just holding cards while I'm testing them, which is why I want these things to be insulated. Next up is a third hand with 2 alligator clips and a magnifying glass. I actually usually take the magnifying glass off. Even though this thing has complete freedom of positioning everything, like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ball joints which have each 3 degrees of freedom. Plus you can slide these arms, and there's 2 more ball joints down here, so that's very flexible, but I hardly ever use it. I sometimes use these alligator clips to hold wires while I'm soldering them. Here's the Panavise, which has a suction base. You can get all kinds of different bases for it. Some of them bolt onto the desk, and some of them are just huge. So they easily swap out, and we could put that other one into the mounting hole here. They're pretty flexible, but again, I've had this one for many years and I do use it, but not so much for holding circuit boards. The jaw doesn't open wide enough to hold a very big card. And then there's more third hands. These can be flexibly positioned. Again, I don't use this for holding circuit boards because it's quite floppy. And I also mounted this one on a hockey puck to give it a little more stability. The original plastic base was extremely light and it just wouldn't stay in position. But I still use this for holding wires while I'm soldering them onto circuit boards and things like that. And here's a card holder which can slide with these lock screws on it, and you can put different size cards in there. It's got insulating card holders, and we used to use these kinds of things for soldering through-hole components. Like you notice there's some through-hole sockets on here, and what we would do is you load on the through-hole components, and then you put a piece of foam on it, flip it over, and then you can solder the parts while they're being held in place by the foam. So I would actually do this a little bit more rigorously if I was doing a lot of through-hole components, but that's the idea, is that you can just flip these cards over quite easily, and you start with the lowest profile components so that they're held firmly. Once they're soldered in place, you put the next highest profile components on and flip it over and solder them again. So that's a kind of a neat little holder. But again, I don't do a whole lot of through-hole anymore, and when I do, I tend not even to use this. So it's there, but I don't use it that much. So now I'm gonna shut this off for a second and bring in the main system that I use for soldering these days, because it fits under my stereoscopic microscope so that I can solder while I'm looking through the microscope. Alright, this is my main PC board holder that I use when I'm soldering components onto circuit boards. It holds the circuit board quite level under my stereoscopic microscope, which is above this workspace, and it's a Panavise, which has the normal post that you can put into the Panavise base over there, but I have it put into a very heavy drill press vise, which is heavy, solid steel or iron or something like that, and it holds the card very stably. But when I want to move the card to see a different part of it under the microscope, I can just slide it around, and it stays wherever I put it. So it's not going to tend to move very much, or at all actually, when I'm doing my work. So it gives me a nice access to any part of the card with very stable horizontal positioning, and I found that really works well. If I want larger cards, I can move this arm over onto this side and get a much wider jaw here. But it served me for many years, and I have all these other vices. Some of them I obtained after I've been using this, but I still use this as my main go-to platform, and I still like it. So I'm not really planning to make any changes to this. I had thought about actually making putting it on a turntable like this, or putting it on something that would allow it to move easier. But I think the sliding friction, I don't normally have it on a turntable, it's just on a table, on a bench. But the sliding friction of moving it is perfect. It's very easy to move, but it doesn't move by itself, and that's what works the best for me. So that's a quick introduction or a quick overview of some of the vices I have, and maybe you could put in the comments below what you think are good vices and how your workflow works with them.